Okie doke, so here is the bait we're starting with. It is already white from the factory, and so I'm going to go ahead and just leave it white. I did rough it up a little bit with some 1000 grit sandpaper just to make sure that my paint's going to stick good. But what I'm going to do is start with the bottom, so we're going to flip it over. So we're going to start with the bottom, and I'm going to start with a chartreuse, and we're going to go ahead and cover everything except for the top. The top's going to end up going blue, so I'm not too worried about covering the top right now. But we're going to cover everything else because we're going to throw a stencil on and then do some pearlized green later on. So here goes the chartreuse. And the chartreuse is such a light color, I'm not sure how well it's going to show up on camera, but we are going to be doing a couple coats of it, as always with the light colors. Alright, I'm going to hit this bad boy with the hairdryer, and we can do our second coat. Alrighty, so that came off. That is good enough for me. I'm going to dry this, clean out the brush, and then we're going to come back and pick out a stencil pattern. Okie doke, so we are going to be using this pattern, which was what I used on my very first YouTube video I made with lure painting. I've had a lot of people message me or ask what this is. It's a ribbon from the Hobby Lobby store. And there was someone recently that just asked me about it, and they said they were able to find it. There's been a couple people that haven't been able to find it, so it's hard to find, or it may not be hard to find. But okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be putting this stencil on here, and we're going to be spraying a pearlized green over top of it. But something I've recently learned, and this might just be a rookie mistake, I don't know, but don't spray on both sides of your stencil if you can help it, because when you get black paint on the back side or the front side, whichever side is which, and then you put it on a color like this that's really light, that black will rub off on there. And so this whole lure, I'm not going to have any dark colored paint on there. It's just going to be green and a light blue. So I don't want any remnants of like black paint on there or any other dark colored baits. So what I did was cut off a bunch more of the ribbon. So this is actually the color of the ribbon. It's got glitter on it, which is really obnoxious, but it still works. And I'm not spraying using any paint on this side. This side should stay the same color always that it was when it started. So like I said, I'm doing this because I don't want any of this black paint to rub off on the bait, keeping one side clean from the store, and the other side is going to be the one that's got the paint sprays all over it. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this stencil on, and we're going to move on to our next color. Just thought I would throw that out there for anyone else that's trying to replicate it. Got our stencil on, and we've got some pearlized green loaded up in the airbrush, and I'm going to go ahead and cover basically all of it, because the color combination he asked for was green and blue. We got some of the chartreuse, which is a hue of green, but I don't want it to be mostly the chartreuse, if that's making any sense at all. I want the belly to be chartreuse, but most of the side to be green, and about right in here we're going to start turning it into a baby blue. So I'm going to go ahead and get this pearlized green rocking. And again, these colors are really close to each other, so I apologize if it doesn't show up very well on camera. I know the final shots we'll have of it, you'll be able to tell. And if you're using stencils like this, and if you're new to airbrushing, I know a lot of people that have been watching my YouTube videos said they're getting ready to start or learning how to. Whenever you have a stencil like this, make sure you're not spraying your paint too thick, because it will seep underneath of there. I mean, I'm sure most people probably realize that right off the bat, but just trying to throw out more tips or things that I experienced whenever I was first learning how to do this. I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer, and we'll go ahead and do another coat to make sure it's covered nicely, which is why I hit it with the hairdryer so many times. Okie doke, this is ready to switch over to the blue, so I'm going to clean out the brush and then we will do that. Got some like baby blue loaded up in the brush, and I don't want this to come very far down because we're going to be putting a black dot on here later for like the kill zone. But I do want this blue to carry over into some of the stencil patterns, so we're just going to real lightly spray it right at the bridge. I call it the bridge, like right where it goes from the side to the top. And some of that overspray is going to carry on with that stencil pattern. I'm going to do that on both sides, and we'll take off the stencil and spray the whole back of it blue. There you go, so you can kind of see it on there. So I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer, we'll take off the stencil, and then cover the whole back in this blue. On my little camera screen it looks like it's all the same color, but I promise you there is a definition there. You can kind of see it a little bit. But alright, let's put this back on our little stand here. Yeah, this is the only problem with using that. If anyone finds this where it's not covered in glitter, let me know. Because it'll leave some glitter on there, which is great if you plan on putting glitter on there, but if you don't, it's a little bit annoying. No biggie though. Alright, so we're going to cover the whole back of this in blue. And this blue is a transparent blue. I would be using an opaque if I had it in this color. So I'm going to do a couple coats of it to build it up. There we go. I'm digging it. I'm going ahead and going to bring some of this blue down just on the nose of it here. Give it a little more definition. Alright, so we are ready to put some of the finishing touches on this bait. Instead of doing just red on the belly, because I want to do the under lip of it here in red, I want to first do some orange. That way we can kind of fade it, and I feel like the orange would go good with the green. So I've got some bright orange in here. And we're going to carry this orange just past this first eyelet, about right in there. And then we're going to come back with the red and fade them into each other. Alright, now we're going to switch over to the red. Alright, we've got the red loaded up, and I'm going to carry it about half of the orange. So this front part's going to be completely red, and the rest of it we're going to have it fading into that orange. Just like that. Now we got a nice fade. I absolutely dig that. I'm also thinking red eyes on this would look pretty killer, so I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer and I'll show you how I'm going to do the eyes on this one. So when I ordered these blanks originally, I didn't realize that there was no spot to put those fake eyes in. So we had to troubleshoot, and if anybody out there knows of a better way of doing this, please let me know. But here's what I'm currently doing, and it seems to be working. I'm actually using my little bitty ruler because the circle diameter is almost exactly the same as what it is on the fishing lure. It's slightly bigger, but I actually think it works out pretty well. So all I do is put this over this, and then we're going to be doing some red eyes. And then we'll come back here in a little bit and put a black dot on there. But that's what I've been doing, and it works. I feel like it could be better, but it's working. So like I said, if anyone out there knows of a better way of doing it, help a brother out. Alright, so two more things left to do. One will be putting a black dot on the side, like the little kill zone is what I like to call it. And the other will be putting a black dot on the eyes. So I've just got a piece of cardstock here. I think you've most likely seen it in my last video. And I punched a hole in it using a hole punch. And we're going to line it up. I'm kind of lining it up with this other eyelet up here. You can kind of see what I'm seeing. I also figured out, I personally think it looks better to have the dot higher up. On the last video I did, I have it a little bit low, and it still looks good, but I think I like it a little bit higher up. So I'm just kind of visually lining it up. That way I can get it the same on the other side, so it's kind of lined up with that eyelet and then the top of our the little fin that's on top there. And I'm just spraying some black. There we go. Hit that with the hairdryer. Alright, then we're going to repeat it on the other side. Boom, baby. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to be doing here before the clear coat goes on is taking the back of a paintbrush, and I'm just dipping it in, sorry, doing two things at once. Dipping it in my airbrush paint that's loaded up in my airbrush, and then I'm just going to go and do a black dot on the eyes, kind of dab it a couple times, and that gives you your eyeball. Simple, works, gets the job done. Trying to make sure they match. I need to make this one slightly bigger. And there we have it. I'm hoping you guys can see it on the screen on the camera. It just looks like the whole thing's one color with blue and a black dot. But we'll get this bad boy cleared up. I'm also going to be putting a custom name on the bottom. This bait, and I got another one for one of my Instagram friends. They just started a new Instagram page called Ripjaw Hookers, and they're posting a whole bunch of fishing pictures and fishing content on there. So if you guys want to check them out, go ahead and head over and do that on Instagram. So I'm going to go and get this clear coated, and then I will show you guys what she looks like all clear coated up. Hopefully get some close-up shots, that way you can see the detail with the stencil that we used. Alright guys, here's the fishing lure all done up with the clear coat. I used Illumini UV as the finish for it. If you guys would like to go over and check out Ripjaw Hookers on Instagram, I'm sure they'll be posting pictures once they catch a fish on this fishing lure. And also, if you'd like to see how I did the logo or the name on the bottom of the fishing lure, I have a YouTube video on that, so I'll leave it linked in the description below. As always guys, thank you so much for watching the video, and I will catch you guys next time. Okay, bye.